It is
So
so
yeah.
intellectually stupid to assume that a man from the 7th century would share anything in morality with us. It's just not possible. You can find the most moral person of the 7th century. Some of his views would not be compatible with today's world. It's just not possible. You can't even find someone from the 18th century that would share the same morality as us. So these
His
people have the
eating
audacity.
manners and his hygiene would disgust you already. His outlook on the world, it would, yeah, it's just a whole different. But Horace, do you not find it draining? Like that's one thing, okay. But like we've moved on since the 7th century. Science has taken us very, very far as a species. But do you not think that like it's completely fruitless to discuss these kind of views on how Islam should be with people who are so on the fringe, like Javed Hashmi, like such fringe views and reformist view? Again, I appreciate the sentiment. I would take a reformist over a jihadi any day of the week. But the fact is, for me, I'm like, if you can realize it, if I can realize it, and I don't think we're that clever, I'm sorry, we're just normal human beings. But if we can just get over that one little hump to say, look, if I have to do this level of mental gymnastics, if I have to accept and cling on and clutch at straws to defend this ideology, why not just think about chucking it out and looking at life beyond it or without it? Why can they not make that leap? Like, that's where I just feel like these people, I'm sorry to say this is very controversial, but these people who still cling on to that cognitive dissonance of needing Islam and making this many of excuses for it are going to be just the weaker side of humanity that are left in our species. I'm sorry to say. That mindset
it's
is,
as I said, these people thinking that we have a trauma. No, it's actually these people, this Muslim diaspora in these Western countries. They're carrying this trauma. They feel that they have the only thing, they can't relate themselves with an average Western person, or let's just say, loosely speaking, with a white person. And in the white, I'm including blacks as well. Anyone who's non-Asian, non-Pakistani, or non-Muslim, they can't relate themselves with them. They say that all the time. I can't go to a pub. I can't have a barbie with them. Like they can't socialize with them. So they feel like outsiders. You and I don't have that problem. We've never had that problem. We can go out with anyone. We can chill with them. We can hang out. So we don't feel like outsiders. So we don't have that need to hold on to that identity. And then they call that, oh, that's your self-loathing. No, it doesn't even come in my equation. It doesn't. When my Aussie friends ask me out or something, it doesn't come in my equation. Oh, I'm going out with my Aussie friend. What is he going to ask me to eat or drink? What are we going to talk about? No, it's not even a part of the equation. But because it is such a big part of their lives, they can't see outside of it. So they're carrying this trauma.
But horror, self-loathing would imply that like every single time you and I were asked, especially like given like being like interviewed on various YouTube podcasts or telling our story, every single time we would be asked, I would say, I'm not Pakistani, I'm British, I'm English, I'm this. We would turn away from our roots. You would never embrace it. We would never own up to it. We would never talk about it. We would never care as much. Yes, we talk about it in a bad sense, not because we want to do that out of spite, but because that's actually the reality of what's happening in that sense. Credit where credit due. If Pakistan smashes India in cricket, you and I would be the first one to be like, well done, Pakistan, they did amazing. That was great. I had an amazing day with my family. Like we can cling on to the good things. I talk about Pakistan's beauty all day. I've written essays on Pakistan's beauty, and like
cringe. That was cringe.
No, yeah, but I mean, this is what I'm saying. Like, if we were self-loathing, I just want people to understand these other sides of our personality that they might not see.
In fact, we've actually been there where they are now. We were all like, oh, hey, look, I'm a proud Pakistani. What have you done? I'm a proud Pakistani. Like, when you live in multiple countries,
I'm ashamed to say I was very nationalistic at one point in time, even though I've never lived there. I was nationalistic.
Yeah. I had more of a reason to be nationalistic because I grew up in Pakistan. But my point is, when you live in multiple countries, you realize how primitive this whole idea and notion of nationalism is. And I was thinking about it today because I spend a big chunk of my time, I've been spending that time in England. and I'm more involved in English politics, and I like the British context, like, and probably I have a bit more say, and I'm known a little bit more in England. I'm like, oh, hang on, are my loyalties being divided between Australia and England? Like, I mean, I don't know, but I don't feel the same way about any country anymore. Like, I'm truly a globalist, but yes, I do have some values that are intertwined with certain countries. Like, for example, Britain and Australia, the same, two sides of the same coin, really. They're the same countries when it comes to values. But I was thinking, hang on a second, this is how stupid nationalism is. If Australia turns into a fascist country tomorrow, would I still say, oh, I love Australia? No, I would say, F off, I'm leaving. If Pakistan becomes a secular modern country tomorrow, would I still say the same things about Pakistan? No, I wouldn't. So it's all about values that you subscribe to and you respect. Now, those values, the Pakistani social values share nothing with my values.
Just to say also, what you said is so important and it's so true, but it's also not just the values that you share and that you respect, but it's also where you are respected. The fact that you can sit here and I can sit here being safe in the knowledge that we can do what we're doing right now and no one's going to come knocking at my door, or, like, legally we are very much, this is our right. We're just exercising one of our most basic rights. And the reason we're doing it is for people who this tiny fundamental right doesn't exist to, like, i.e. in Pakistan, where you have to resort to things like the dark web, or you have to use like an alias, for example. Like, this is such we take it for granted. But it's so massive in light of, like, that's why we're spending our time even right now doing what we're doing. Because if everybody in Pakistan could do what we're doing right now, we wouldn't need to do it. I mean, the world would be a different.
These people want us to hate the West for giving us everything that we love, enjoy, and cherish. It reminds me of that meme where this hijabi woman is saying, "Oh, I left Pakistan because I wasn't given a right to speak over there, but now I'm in the West, and where I'm given a right to speak, and I'm using my speech to turn this country into Pakistan." So, kind of like that. What were we talking about? So they want us to hate the West for the privilege that it has given us, and they hold on to the identity, the values of the country that they left. Like, it just so. I mean, one of the biggest grievance of people in the West is, well, if you idolize Afghanistan or Pakistan, why don't you go back there? I say that no, I don't idolize that. I hate that. If anything, I want to turn Pakistan into a secular liberal democracy. That's what I want to do. That doesn't mean that I'm self-loathing. I'm like, okay, these values are better. I recognize Western liberal values as better values to govern a country. These guys are conflicted. So people like this diaspora, like I used to say that the diaspora living in America and Canada are better, but I think they're just as conflicted as anyone else. And this cognitive dissonance is just driving them insane.
Well, Horace, just quickly on that point as well. For example, the fact that, like, again, being in the West, I naturally would never have indulged in activism unless I felt secure and safe enough in the West, or unless enough people had come before me and shown that, they still managed to keep their head above their shoulders. That was the only reason that I kind of intended to go ahead with this. And even then, like, I thought twice, thrice, whatever. But now, like, that we've come so far as a movement, and social media has empowered us so much that, like, often we see on Twitter Spaces, I've engaged with people who are genuinely call themselves like Wahhabi, like extremely Wahhabi, and they follow the most extreme version of Islam, and yet they are willing to listen to my voice on Twitter, have a conversation, give their point of view. But then even hearing from somebody like that who is in an Islamic country, and their messages, knowing the real Islam and knowing that Islam is constantly in a state of Dar al-Harb, which is a state of war, as opposed to Dar al-Islam, when, Islam manifests all over the world. Exactly. So in terms of that, according to his version of Wahhabi Islam, he was having a pop at all of who Horace was essentially alluding to, the diaspora, who are here saying you are living and benefiting and enjoying the perks of essentially infidel lands. And according to the real Islam and according to what your prophet would have wanted, it was not for you to migrate to those lands. And it's to stay back there and then do, jihadish warfare on those lands when and as you're ready to, but to assimilate and to use their benefit system and to take advantage of the capitalistic system and all of these things which are essentially against Islam is contrary to his views. But again, social media has gotten us to this point where there is some Wahhabis out there who obviously know my name, who know Horace's name, who know other, and they're like, you're my friend, I don't want to kill you, which is also crazy, but at least they know their real Islam. And so you get these people here who are trying to kind of have the best of both worlds. And I'm sorry, you can't have your cake and eat it too. It does not work that way.
I despise these people. I despise these people.
I'm sorry. It's not like you cannot be, it's like sitting in like your most comfiest throne and looking down at people burning alive, like we see what's happening in Iran and Afghanistan, and saying, oh, but over here, it's kind of different for me. So probably like that's the wrong, like it's nothing to do with the ideology. No, it doesn't work like that. But yeah, I just wanted to say that the power of social media now and what's happening in terms of who we can connect with, but also people who understand Islam vis-a-vis these people who, I think Khadija Khan did a very good tweet today in response to one of Bushra Sheikh's tweets, something I had also tweeted about in terms of domestic violence. But Khadija Khan completely called her out and said, you clearly have not read the Quran itself. So for you to keep harping on about being a Muslim, for me, my biggest qualm and my biggest contention is, even for Muslims in my own family, is that if you are Muslim, which is why this is why I wore hijab when I was 9, is because I wanted to do right by God, right? Like I feel like that's why it's so bad when they say you were never a real Muslim, because some of us ex-Muslims, we tried to be the best Muslims that we could be. We tried to believe in it as much as we could. Like at 9 years old, my entire family told me, don't do this. And I was like, Allah told me to wear hijab. I'm going to wear hijab because I want to go to heaven. As I said, I thought they were all crazy. And I still don't understand how you can say you're Muslim and you want to go to heaven and you believe in Allah, but you won't want to check what the message that Allah said to you or given you. That to me makes no sense. If you believe in something and you want to get somewhere, the one communication you have with that supreme being, you don't even read. It's like getting a text message from the love of your life that could change your life forever, and you never read it, and you just like absolutely like clear your junk folder, and that part of your life is never ever. Imagine that. But like, this is eternal, and this is like life and death. So I don't understand people that call themselves Muslims, but then you ask them anything about the Quran and they say they haven't read it. That makes no sense. That's why I respect our positions a lot more, because at least we've read something to say, I've read it and therefore I dismiss it, as opposed to, I was born into it, I'm supposed to believe this, it's a bit too obscure for me to read, I can't really be asked to learn Arabic, the Urdu is a bit too hard, the English is a bit Shakespearean, okay, you know what, it's kind of just jumping from place to place, you know what, I'll just go read like Jumal on Friday instead, and I'm still part of the fold. And they just give it up.
If you like my video and would like to support my channel, then you can be my patron by going to patreon.com/xmuslim, or you can simply buy me a coffee.